Okay, Maya, you knew what this was. Just one more journey. That's it. Rent, lights, tuition, everybody wants something. It's a good thing my body still pays on time.
You look exhausted, baby.
I'm good, Miss A. You just focus on getting stronger, all right?
That's what you always say.
Maya Johnson dropped the pregnancy test. It clattered against the cracked bathroom tile, spun once, and stopped face up between her bare feet. Positive. Her chest rose sharply, then slowly fell, like she was forcing her own heartbeat to calm down. Outside the thin apartment walls, someone's car alarm shrieked, then cut off. The radiator beside the sink hissed like it was tired of fighting the cold. Maya bent, picked up the test, and stared at it again. Okay, she whispered hoarsely. Okay, we move. Not joy. Not panic. Just calculation. At 27, Maya had learned something most women never had to. Pregnancy, for her, was business. And business paid bills. She rinsed her face with cold water, patted it dry with a towel that had seen better years, and stepped back into the tiny Baltimore apartment she shared with silence and overdue notices. Her phone buzzed on the chipped kitchen counter. Unknown number. Maya stared at it for a second before answering. Hello. A smooth female voice responded immediately. Hi, Maya. This is Karen from Golden Bridge Surrogacy. I just received your test confirmation. Congratulations, we are officially moving forward. Maya leaned her hip against the counter. Yeah. I saw. You sound calm. I've done this before, Maya said quietly. A small pause. Well, Karen continued brightly, our intended parent is very pleased. He would like to schedule a video call with you tonight if possible. Maya's fingers tightened slightly around the phone. Tonight? Yes. He's eager to meet the woman helping him become a father. Helping. Maya swallowed. Send the time, she said. When the call ended, the apartment fell back into its usual tired quiet. She walked slowly to the window and looked down at the street 3 floors below. A couple argued beside a dented Honda. Somewhere, bass from a passing car thumped through the night air. Normal life. Other people's life. Maya pressed her forehead lightly against the cool glass. Just one more journey, she murmured to herself. But something in her chest didn't feel as steady as she wanted it to. 3 hours later, Maya sat at her small folding table, laptop open, posture straight like she was back in school. She'd changed into her cleanest hoodie and pulled her braids neatly over one shoulder. The screen flickered. Then he appeared. Ethan Cole. Even through the laptop, the man looked expensive. Early 30s. Sharp jaw. Dark tailored shirt with the top button open just enough to look intentional. Behind him stretched a quiet, modern office that probably cost more than Maya's entire building. His eyes settled on her immediately, focused, unreadable. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then he nodded once. Maya Johnson. His voice was low. Controlled. Yes, sir. His brow twitched slightly. You don't have to call me sir. Maya gave a small shrug. Old habit. Another pause stretched between them, thin but noticeable. Finally he said, I reviewed your file. 3 prior surrogate journeys. All medically smooth. Yes. No complications. None that stopped the job. The words slipped out before she could soften them. She saw it, the flicker in his eyes. Not judgment. Interest. Ethan leaned back slightly in his chair. You refer to it as a job. Maya held his gaze. Because it is. Silence again. But this time it felt different. Like something unspoken had entered the room. He studied her for a long second, then asked quietly, why did you agree to another journey? There it was. The question most intended parents pretended not to care about. Maya exhaled slowly through her nose. Same reason most people work, Mr. Cole. Bills. His jaw tightened just slightly at that. You've been offered higher compensation before, he said. Your agency file shows that. Yes. And yet you accepted this contract. Maya's fingers curled lightly against the edge of the table. The number hung between them, unspoken but heavy. $500 up front. Much lower than her previous journeys. She lifted her chin slightly. Money is money. Ethan's eyes didn't leave her face. You don't seem like someone who undersells herself. For the first time, something like heat flickered in Maya's chest. You don't seem like someone who wastes time, she replied softly. A slow breath left his nose. Not quite a laugh. But close. The tension in the air shifted, just a fraction. Finally, Ethan leaned forward slightly, his voice returning to full business. I want to be very clear about expectations. Maya straightened instinctively. I'm listening. This arrangement is strictly professional. Medical compliance is mandatory. Lifestyle guidelines will be monitored. Emotional boundaries will be maintained. Each sentence landed like a brick. Maya had heard versions of this before. Still, something about the way he said it felt colder than usual. I understand, she said evenly. His gaze sharpened slightly. Do you? For a split second, Maya almost bristled. But she caught herself. I do, she repeated calmly. Another long pause. Then Ethan surprised her. Are you actually okay doing this again? The question hit her so unexpectedly that her breath stalled. Not are you qualified. Not are you ready. Okay. Maya blinked once. Twice. For a brief, dangerous second, the truth pressed against her throat. The sleepless nights. The empty recovery rooms. The quiet emotional drop after each delivery. But Maya Johnson had learned long ago that honesty didn't pay rent. So she gave him the answer she'd perfected. I'm fine, she said smoothly. Ethan's eyes searched her face like he didn't quite believe that. But after a moment, he simply nodded. Very well. The medical team will contact you tomorrow. The call ended. Just like that. Maya sat there for a long time after the screen went dark. Her apartment felt smaller than usual. Quieter. And for the first time since she'd taken the test that morning. A thin thread of unease slipped down her spine. The contract that changes everything, she murmured softly. She just didn't know yet how true those words would become. The next morning started like most of Maya's mornings did, too early and already heavy. Her alarm buzzed at 5:12 a.m., vibrating angrily across the nightstand. Maya slapped it off, groaned softly, and swung her legs over the side of the bed. Her body felt slower these days, like every movement required negotiation. Still, she moved. Because stopping wasn't an option. By 6 a.m., she was already inside the nursing home, the familiar smell of antiseptic and overcooked oatmeal clinging to the air. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Someone down the hall was calling for a nurse. Maya, baby, that you? She turned to see Mrs. Alvarez peering from her doorway, silver hair slightly crooked from sleep. Maya's face softened immediately. Morning, Miss A. You already giving the night staff trouble? The older woman sniffed dramatically. If they did their job right, I wouldn't have to. Maya chuckled under her breath and stepped into the room. She adjusted the woman's blanket with practiced hands, gentle but efficient. You feeling okay today? Maya asked. Mrs. Alvarez studied her face for a long moment. You look tired, the woman said bluntly. Maya forced a small smile. Just another long week. Humph, Mrs. Alvarez squinted. You always say that when something bigger is going on. For a second, just a second, Maya's hands paused on the blanket. But then she smoothed it down and stepped back. I'm good, Miss A, promise. The lie slid out smooth. Too smooth. By lunchtime, her phone buzzed 3 times with messages from the agency. Medical clearance confirmed. Medication schedule attached. Travel arrangements pending. Maya stared at the screen while sitting alone in the break room, half-eaten yogurt in her hand. Everything was moving fast. Faster than usual. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She hesitated before answering. Hello. It's Ethan. No greeting. No small talk. Just his voice, calm and direct. Maya straightened slightly in her chair. Mr. Cole. I told you to call me Ethan. A small flicker of something, annoyance, passed through her. Old habits take time, she replied. A quiet breath came through the line. I reviewed your medical calendar. You'll need to relocate to Los Angeles during the 2nd trimester for monitoring. Maya's stomach tightened. Relocation wasn't unusual, but it wasn't always comfortable either. For how long, she asked. Approximately 4 months. She did quick math in her head. 4 months away from Baltimore. 4 months away from her routine. 4 months under his watch. You provide housing? She asked carefully. Yes. Private? A small pause. Yes. Maya leaned back slowly. That was better than expected. Okay, she said. Silence stretched. Then Ethan spoke again, his tone quieter this time. You sound surprised. I've had different arrangements before, Maya admitted. Less comfortable ones. Her lips pressed together. You could say that. Another pause. Then, unexpectedly. That won't be your experience this time. Something in the way he said it made Maya's chest tighten slightly. Not warmth. Not quite. But, attention. She cleared her throat softly. I appreciate that. Medical orientation is tomorrow morning, he continued. My driver will pick you up from the airport. Maya blinked. My flight is already booked. Yes. She let out a slow breath through her nose. Of course it was. Men like Ethan Cole didn't wait around for confirmation. All right, she said quietly. The call ended. Just like that. Again. Maya stared at her phone for a long moment. Something about this arrangement felt more controlled than her previous journeys. More precise, more watched. She couldn't decide if that was good or dangerous. 2 days later, Maya stepped out of LAX into warm California sunlight that felt worlds away from Baltimore's biting winter. She adjusted the strap of her duffel bag on her shoulder, scanning the pickup area. Then she saw the sign. J. Johnson. Held by a sharply dressed driver standing beside a sleek black SUV. Maya walked over slowly. That's me. The driver nodded politely and reached for her bag. Mr. Cole is expecting you. Of course he is. The drive through Los Angeles was quiet, smooth, and far too comfortable. Maya watched palm trees blur past the tinted window, her reflection faintly staring back at her. You nervous? The driver asked suddenly. Maya blinked. Excuse me. You're very quiet. She gave a small shrug. Just observing. The man smiled slightly. Most people do when they first come here. Most people. Maya looked back out the window. Yeah. She wasn't most people. The mansion came into view 20 minutes later. Large. Modern. Cold in that expensive, glass and steel kind of way. Maya stepped out slowly, her sneakers crunching lightly against the perfectly clean driveway. Before she could even reach the front door. It opened. Ethan stood there. No suit this time. Just dark slacks and a fitted black shirt that somehow still looked like it cost more than her monthly rent. His eyes swept over her quickly, assessing, sharp. You made good time, he said. Maya lifted one brow slightly. Traffic was kind. For a brief second, the corner of his mouth twitched. Almost a smile. Almost. He stepped aside. Come in. Maya crossed the threshold slowly. The house smelled like money and lemon polish. Quiet. Too quiet. She set her bag down carefully near the entryway. This is where I'll be staying, she asked. Yes. Her eyes moved around the massive living space. Clean lines. Neutral colors. Everything perfectly in place. You live here alone, she asked before she could stop herself. Ethan's gaze flicked back to her. Yes. Something about that one word carried weight. Before Maya could unpack that feeling, he spoke again. Your medical room is prepared. The staff will assist you. Staff. Plural. Maya nodded slowly. Understood. Their eyes met again. And this time, the silence between them wasn't just professional. It was charged. Uncomfortable. Curious. Like both of them were starting to realize. This contract might not stay as simple as they planned. The first night in Ethan Cole's house, Maya didn't sleep. It wasn't the bed, the mattress was softer than anything she'd ever owned. It wasn't the temperature, the room stayed perfectly cool. It was the silence. Too clean. Too controlled. Too unfamiliar. She lay on her back staring at the ceiling, one hand resting lightly over her still flat stomach. Don't get attached, she whispered to herself. The words had become a ritual over the years. A warning. A shield. Still, something about this house made the warning feel weaker than usual. The medical routine began immediately. By the end of the first week, Maya's days had fallen into a precise rhythm. Morning vitals. Nutritional monitoring. Light activity schedule. Weekly scans. Ethan wasn't present for most of it. But she felt him anyway. In the way the staff stayed extra alert around her. In the way her meals arrived exactly on time. In the way nothing, absolutely nothing, seemed left to chance. By week 2, the nausea hit. Hard. Maya barely made it to the bathroom before dropping to her knees, gripping the toilet as her stomach twisted violently. Damn, she rasped when it finally passed. Her body felt weak, hollowed out. She pushed herself up slowly, rinsed her mouth, and leaned heavily against the counter. Been through worse, she muttered. But as she stepped back into the hallway, she froze. Ethan stood there, watching her. Maya straightened immediately, instinct kicking in. I'm fine, she said quickly. His eyes moved over her face, sharp and unreadable. You were on the floor. Morning sickness, she replied lightly. Part of the job. Something in his jaw tightened. You should have called the medical team. Maya gave a small shrug. Didn't seem necessary. Silence stretched between them. Then, quietly. You don't ask for help very often, do you? The question landed deeper than she expected. Maya crossed her arms loosely. Depends on the situation. His gaze didn't move. Most people in your position would use every available support. Her lips curved slightly. I'm not most people. For a long second, neither of them spoke. Then Ethan surprised her. Come, he said, turning slightly. Maya frowned. Come where? Kitchen. She hesitated. Then followed. 10 minutes later, Maya sat stiffly at the marble island while Ethan slid a glass of electrolyte water toward her. She stared at it. Then at him. You didn't have to do this. I know. That answer caught her off guard. Maya picked up the glass slowly. Most intended parents don't personally monitor this stuff. Ethan leaned one hip lightly against the counter, arms folded. I prefer precision. She took a careful sip. Cool. Refreshing. Annoyingly helpful. Her eyes flicked back to him. You always this hands-on with your contracts. For the first time, something flickered in his expression. Not quite offense. Not quite amusement. Only when the outcome matters. The words hung in the air. Heavy. Maya swallowed slowly. Right, she said quietly. But something in her chest shifted. Just a little. Weeks passed. The pregnancy progressed smoothly. Too smoothly. Which is why Maya should have known the calm wouldn't last. It started with the article. She was halfway through her afternoon walk in the private garden when one of the house staff approached carefully, tablet in hand. Miss Johnson, you may want to see this. Maya frowned slightly and took the device. The headline hit her like ice water. Tech billionaire Ethan Cole expecting child via low-cost surrogate. Her stomach dropped. Fast. Cold. Her fingers scrolled. Each word felt sharper than the last. Sources report the surrogate compensation is significantly below industry standards. Questions raised about ethical concerns. Financial power imbalance. Maya's pulse began to pound in her ears. Oh, she breathed softly. The staff member shifted uncomfortably. Mr. Cole is handling media inquiries. Maya barely heard them. Because one sentence kept repeating in her head. Low-cost surrogate. Not experienced. Not 3-time proven. Not medically excellent. Just. Cheap. Her chest tightened painfully. Thank you, she said quietly, handing the tablet back. Then she turned. And walked straight inside. She found Ethan in his office. Of course. Calm. Composed. Like the world outside the glass walls wasn't buzzing with speculation. He looked up as she entered. Their eyes met. And for the first time since she'd met him, Maya didn't soften her expression. You want to explain something to me? She asked evenly. Ethan's gaze sharpened slightly. You saw the article. Hard to miss when I'm apparently trending. A brief pause. Then he gestured toward the chair across from his desk. Sit. Maya didn't move. I'd rather stand. Something flickered in his eyes at that. Respect. Maybe. Annoyance too. Finally, he spoke calmly. The media doesn't have full context. Maya let out a soft, humorless laugh. They got the part where I looked desperate pretty clear. His jaw tightened. That wasn't the intention. Maya's voice sharpened slightly. Then what was? Silence fell. Heavy. Ethan studied her face for a long moment. Then, quietly. I wanted someone who wasn't motivated purely by money. The words landed. Hard. Maya's stomach twisted. You paid me $500, she said slowly. Yes. Her eyes flashed. And you thought that would what, filter out the gold diggers? His gaze didn't waver. Yes. The room went very still. Maya stared at him like she was seeing him clearly for the first time. You ran an experiment, she said softly. It was a calculated decision. A sharp breath left her nose. You don't get it. Ethan's brow lowered slightly. Then explain it to me. For the first time, real emotion cracked through Maya's calm. Her voice dropped, tight with something dangerously close to hurt. You didn't just test my motives, she said quietly. You exposed my situation. Silence. Heavy. Raw. And now, Maya continued, swallowing once, the whole world thinks I'm some desperate woman you picked up on clearance. Ethan's expression shifted. Finally. Something like regret flickered there. But Maya was already stepping back. And for the first time since she'd entered his house. Distance had fully arrived between them. The silence in Ethan's office stretched so tight it felt like it might snap. Maya stood near the door, arms folded across her chest, but the posture didn't hide the tremor running quietly through her. For the first time since she'd taken this contract, she looked tired in a way that had nothing to do with pregnancy. Ethan noticed. Of course he did. I didn't intend to humiliate you, he said finally, his voice lower than before. Maya let out a soft, disbelieving breath. Intent doesn't erase impact, Mr. Cole. He didn't correct her for using the formal title this time. That told her everything. She shook her head slowly. You know what the worst part is? Ethan's gaze stayed locked on her. Tell me. Her voice dropped, quieter now but sharper. I've carried 3 babies for families who treated me like a miracle. She swallowed once. And somehow this is the first time I feel small. The word hung in the air. Small. Ethan's jaw flexed. Something uncomfortable moved behind his eyes, something that looked dangerously close to guilt. Maya noticed that too. But it didn't soften her. Not yet. She took another step back toward the door. I'll continue the contract, she said evenly. I'm professional enough to finish what I start. His brows drew together slightly. Maya. But, she cut in quietly, don't confuse that with trust. The sentence landed clean and final. Then she turned and walked out. That night, Maya sat on the edge of the massive guest bed, phone pressed to her ear. You okay, baby? Her mother's voice came through warm but worried. Maya forced a small smile, even though her mother couldn't see it. I'm fine, Ma. You always say that when something's wrong. Maya sighed softly. Work stuff. Nothing serious. You eating right? Yes, Ma. You resting? Yes, Ma. A pause. Then her mother's voice softened. You sound lonely. That one hit. Maya's fingers tightened slightly around the phone. I'm just tired, she said quietly. Her mother hummed in that knowing way that made Maya feel about 12 years old again. Well, don't let these rich people stress you out too much, hear me? Despite everything, a small laugh slipped out of Maya. I hear you. After the call ended, the room felt even quieter than before. She lay back slowly, staring at the ceiling. But sleep didn't come easy. Because now the whole world knew her business. And somehow, that hurt more than she expected. The media storm didn't die down. If anything, it got louder. By the next week, headlines had multiplied. Opinions split on Ethan Cole's low-cost surrogacy deal. Ethics experts question power dynamics. Social media debates surrogate compensation. Maya stopped reading them after day 3. Not because she didn't care. Because she cared too much. Still, she kept her routine. Morning walks. Medical check-ins. Nutritional schedules. Professional. Always professional. Until the night everything shifted. It was nearly midnight when the cramp hit. Sharp. Sudden. Maya gasped softly, one hand flying to her lower abdomen as she sat up in bed. Okay, she breathed slowly. False alarm. Probably. But when the second wave of pain followed, tighter this time, her calm cracked just a little. She slid carefully off the bed and stood. The room tilted slightly. Damn. Before she could decide whether to call medical staff. There was a knock. Firm. Quick. Her brows knit together. Who? The door opened. Ethan stepped in. Maya blinked in shock. What are you doing here? His eyes moved immediately to her posture, to the way her hand pressed protectively against her stomach. You triggered the hallway motion sensors, he said shortly. What's wrong? I'm fine, she started automatically. Another cramp hit. Stronger. She sucked in a sharp breath before she could stop it. Ethan was across the room instantly. "Sit down," he ordered. "I said I'm Maya." Her name in his voice stopped her cold. Low. Firm. Not cold this time. Concerned. And that was new. Slowly, reluctantly, she sat back on the edge of the bed. "I think it's just muscle tension," she muttered. Ethan was already on his phone. "Medical team. Now." "Ethan." But it was too late. Within minutes, the quiet room filled with soft-footed professionals, gentle voices, and careful hands. Vitals checked. Monitors placed. Calm reassurances. After 20 long minutes, the lead nurse finally looked up. Everything looked stable. Likely ligament strain, very common at this stage. The tight knot in Maya's chest loosened slightly. "See?" she murmured. But Ethan didn't look relieved. He looked shaken. The staff eventually cleared out, leaving the room quiet again. Maya shifted slightly on the bed. "You can stop looking like that," she said softly. His gaze snapped back to her. "Like what?" "Like the world almost ended." Something unreadable flickered across his face. For a long moment, he didn't speak. Then, quietly, "You scared me." The words were so unexpected. Maya forgot how to breathe for a second. Her eyes searched his face carefully, trying to decide if she imagined it. "You barely know me," she said slowly. Ethan's jaw tightened slightly. "That's not entirely accurate." The air between them shifted. Again. Dangerously. Maya swallowed. "You're getting emotionally invested," she warned softly. His gaze held hers. Steady. Intense. "Am I?" The question sent a strange ripple through her chest. One she wasn't prepared for. Maya looked away first. Because suddenly, this contract didn't feel professional anymore. And that scared her more than any headline ever could.